Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. And we are so thrilled to be offering one of the first of its kind digital, virtual, and continuous learning environments, enabling parents and children to connect from all around the world. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions and to create space for all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. And these topics and debates give us an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan: support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, this also translates as recreating and co-creating environments, both socially and politically, that will enable our children to thrive. For those of you who are particularly keen on the topic, we also write thought pieces every other Monday. We actually just dropped the thought piece this past Monday, so definitely be sure to meander over to the website and check out our online content. Now, if it is the case that you're looking for a listening alternative, well, we're available wherever podcasts are playing, and we provided you with access to a few links down below. Now, as is the convention, be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Allô les meufs et les mecs. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today's topic of discussion is mental health. And in the conversation on mental health this week, I want to talk about picking your poison. And this is really the way that we navigate lose-lose situations. It's not always going to be the case in life, but we're presented with opportunities to find a middle ground, to be in a situation where, we can ensure that everyone kind of gets the best out of what can be extracted from that situation. Sometimes it's just a lose-lose. It doesn't matter what choice you make, something has got to give. And I think that in those cases, it can be really stressful and really daunting, because who wants to pick something and decidedly go into a direction that is still destructive in its own way, shape, or form? So I want to talk about some of the principles that I engage, that I leverage, if it is the case that I'm being presented with a lose-lose situations where it's just like mitigating the impact, but it's going to be a negative impact all around. And so this is what I like to call pick your poison, because at the end of the day, there's always going to be something that is going to be the backlash of this choice, but it's just recognizing, what kinds of backlashes are you comfortable with? Will you still feel aligned to? Where you still feel like you made the best choice possible out of the worst options available? And so one of the reasons that I want to have this conversation is because I think a lot of the time we think about mental health and we think about the conditions being appropriate. We think about mental health in a relation to the environments that we're in and the relationships that we have and everything being sort of even keeled. But when you're going through serious life events that are fairly tumultuous, a lot of the times you're choosing from a lot of lose-lose scenarios. And I think that we can maintain our mental health even if it feels like the world is crashing all around us by maintaining some of these principles. And again, they might be different for you, but for me, I want to give you what I leverage when it is the case that I'm navigating lose-lose scenarios, and making sure that even if it is the case that I'm dealing with the ramifications of my choice, I can be at peace and aligned in that direction, that situation, because I picked my lose-lose in alignment with my values. And so that's the first one, which is value-based lose-lose. So if it is the case that I'm in a situation where I'm having to pick or make a decision, and I see that the options that are being made available to me are negative, or not the options that I want. And this can be any situation where it's personal, whether it's professional. You state the case if you're seeing that these are the options that you have available based on the parameters that are at play. You can think to yourself, these are all lose-lose situations. So you think to yourself, given that this is the decision point that I'm at now, that there isn't a third hidden pocket, like what lose-lose situation still maintains an alignment to my values. And so that is for me very critical. I can withstand so much difficulty if I feel like that there's that inner alignment where I made choices that are in alignment with my values, in alignment with my beliefs, in alignment with my attitudes around what kinds of challenges and difficulties I'm willing to endure, because this is what I believe in. This is what I stand for. And I find that it can be so much more debilitating if you make a choice that you feel is the right choice from like the external point of view, but it's not in alignment with how you feel. It's not in alignment with what you value and with what you believe. And I find like if you're choosing from lose-lose scenarios, choose from a place of inner alignment. Make sure that your values are still intact. Make sure that your belief system isn't being compromised. I mean, these things are just so important when you're making those difficult choices that are going to involve a certain degree of hardship and a certain degree of difficulty either way. I am happy to go through hardship if it is in alignment with me standing up for the things that I believe in. So that's one way of thinking to yourself, well, how do I make this decision making? How do I make it a little bit easier for myself? Is thinking from the lens of inner alignment. And so the next one is about the people-pleasing factor. And I think that when we think about, well, who are we comfortable disappointing and who we aren't comfortable disappointing? And so for me, it is a very small pool of individuals, which is pretty much just me and my partner, that I would take pause at thinking about the disappointment factor. And what does that mean? That means that, like, unless I'm thinking from the lens of myself or my partner, I am the person that I refuse to disappoint, right? So my partner, he obviously, I wouldn't want to disappoint him either, but like I have more of a we mentality around disappointment and the decision making that I would make. I consider him in that decision making process. But if I'm really thinking about decision points and decision pathways, and the outcome is going to disappoint someone else or disappoint myself, I'm going to be disappointed in myself if I make a choice that would please someone else. Better believe I'm going to please myself in that situation. And I don't think it's selfish. I think it's just recognizing that on the scale of people who are the most important in my life long term, like I am the person that I'm guaranteed going to die with at the end of this life, right? So it's important that I honor myself and I honor my needs, my values, my wants, my desires in the decision-making tree that I navigate. And so because I'm very much of that mindset, like I'm not the kind of person who's going to change my goals, change my life plans, change the vision that I have for my life because it's going to please someone else. It's just not the way that I'm organized or that I'm oriented. My partner and I are aligned enough that I don't think he would put me in a position where I'm having to disappoint myself in pleasing him. Like that's just not how we're organized. And because his happiness is my happiness, I want to make decisions that make sure that we're both comfortable and we're both happy. But if I'm dealing with like external other and I'm thinking about, well, what choices are going to keep me happy, keep me aligned, keep me feeling like I am on the trajectory that I have established for myself, going to accomplish the goals that I think are important for myself. I mean, those are things that I hold very sacred, and like disappointing myself in actualizing those things is just something that I don't really see a situation in my head where I would consciously make that choice. I think that when it comes to people pleasing, the person that I recognize as the most important in keeping happy with the decisions that I make is myself. And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to be mindful of like the choices that require compromise. I absolutely am happy to compromise. I don't think I'm disappointing myself in compromising. I'm talking about the kinds of choices where you walk away really feeling disappointed in yourself for making that choice. Like that is not something I see myself ever doing, where I'm going to walk away committing to a choice where I'm disappointed in myself for that choice, because I know that I can choose better, because I know that I know better, because I know that that is just not a choice that is in alignment with my values, with my beliefs, with my wants, with my desires, with my relationships, so on and so forth. So I think that that's also a really important criteria when you think about who do I please. You must think within the scope of it's not okay for me to comfortably disappoint myself and like put myself in the back burner and break myself in order to please others. I think you need to recognize that you should hold yourself in high esteem by way of the people who should be happy and should feel comfortable and should feel aligned as it relates to the choices that you make. And last but not least, when it comes to decision makings and lose-lose scenarios, you want to think about long term. I think a lot of the time when we think about lose scenarios, we're thinking too much in the now. We're not thinking about the impact and implication of our choices moving forward. And if we're thinking so much in the now that you're in the long term going to really hurt yourself, then I think you want to think twice about that. So for me, I'm happy to suffer in the short term if it means better alignment in the long term. So I think sometimes our vision can be fairly limited. It can be limited because of crisis. It can be limited because of our own need to self-preserve. I mean, there's so many reasons why we can have like a very limited, very narrow point of view on like the situation happening around us. But I challenge you in those situations that you're making major disaster impact, right? So I'm always trying to think in relation to how my choices are not going to just impact me in the next year, how they're going to impact me in the next 5, 10, 15 years of my life. I have to make choices that honor my future self as well as my present self. And so those are the top 3 areas of consideration that I do keep in mind when it comes to navigating lose-lose scenarios. I really do hope that they're helpful to you. I mean, sometimes in life you're just going to pick your poisons. You have to pick the poison that isn't fatal, and I find that the poisons that are less fatal or that are not fatal to me are the choices where I'm still preserving my sense of alignment to my values and my beliefs. I'm still making sure that I'm considering what would make me happy long term, what would make sure that like I walk away not feeling disappointed in myself, and also thinking about long-term future implications of those choices and that choice map, and not just thinking in the now. So those are some of the things that I think are beneficial, that are helpful, that are going to support you if you're in a position right now where you're making those lose-lose choices. As it relates to my stalking situation, no information for you as yet, but you'll be the first to know when I do. Thank you so much again for tuning in. Again, if you have your own lose-lose scenario, choice map, decision-making schema that you want to share,